Sean, one we're asking all the managers today. I know you've had interesting thoughts on the subjects of concussion in the past, but this weekend concussion subs come into the Premier League. I just wondered how welcome a step, how big a step that is for football to bring that in.
Well, we don't know how welcome or needed it is yet. I think the scientists are still finding out the data, the possibilities, probabilities. The welfare of players, of course, is important, very important, and the future of the game, of course, on that side of things. I think we get more information over the next couple of days, so I'll find out more from the Premier League's point of view on how that's going to look, and then we'll see how we'll just work with the guidelines given to us.
Something that's kind of cropped up in the discussion, I suppose, about heading in football and links to dementia and that kind of thing is heading in training. I just wonder, how much, if at all, do you focus on heading in training these days? And how has that changed in your career, obviously being the rugged centre-half that we remember playing?
Well, that's wrong. I was more of the bring it out from the back, Glenn Hoddle type centre-half, but I understand your train of thought. Heading in the game in training is hardly at all, in fact. I think that's the cautious side of the idea of the welfare of players, and obviously there's been some really tough stories about dementia and the possible effects of heading the ball. Of course, I understand that, the seriousness of it. Equally, if you actually look at football now, you don't do that much heading practice. By the time these players are pretty formed, then they should have the skill set and the basic technical ability to head the ball. Of course, you'll have crossing sessions, defending sessions, but your brain almost leads you to think that the outside view is like you're doing that on a daily basis. You're not. A lot of the football played, a lot of the training shows, certainly our own, possession games, small-sided games. The ball is virtually hardly ever headed in them games. So I think that has to be just balanced in a little bit. I do think at the younger age groups, I've spoken freely about the use of sponge balls for technique, and then science will play its part as these young kids get older. Then I presume there's some science, I don't know the science, that suggests when a skull is formed in a better way to accept some blows, to use a better word, or want for a better word. Therefore, the idea of learning how to head the ball with the right technique from a young age, I would be surprised if a sponge ball can hurt you at a young age. I don't know, but I'd be surprised. And then the weight of the ball and the material of the ball can be adjusted as players get older if you are specifically learning how to head the ball. The reason I'm bringing that up, I'll be surprised if... Look, the change in the game has been radical in my view over the last 10 years. The physicality in the game, definitely. So who knows? Maybe they're talking some point of the game eventually not having headers in it, but I can't see it. The game's been going for, 140 years, so I can't see that heading is going to stop in football. Monitoring it, of course. Welfare, of course. But stopping it, I doubt that's going to happen. So I think you work with it and then try and introduce new ways of working with it. That would be my opinion, but I don't know the true science behind it, but that would be a logical step to me.
Looking ahead then to this weekend, last night you were unsure about the fitness of your players, particularly the missing ones, and just wonder, is the picture any clearer for you today? Do you know?
There's a couple of situations maybe, but nothing radical. And like I say, I'm not a superstitious fella, but whenever I talk about it, we seem to get more injuries. So I'm trying to be open-minded about the use of how I talk about it, but I don't think there's radical shift in it. There's possibilities, but we'll wait and see.
And what about the ones that started last night? Are they ready to go again? Because we've spoken a lot about the intensity and the number of games.
Well, historically, we know our stats, second half of the season. We're very strong statistically, physically, that is, going through the game schedule. It has been different, of course. We've had a real heavy chunk of games. It happens in this period, as regards COVID, that is, and the thirst and desire to get as many games in as possible, as quickly as possible. So that's a slightly different challenge, but we can't guarantee results, but the welfare of the players to be ready to get results, I think we've been good at that, and I think that'll continue. We obviously need to get over these injury hurdles, but generally speaking, statistically, we've been very strong as seasons go on.
You've spoken about how happy you were with 6 points and a cup win out of the last 5. I just wonder, what would you be happy with from the next 5, looking ahead at the fixtures you've got coming up?
We'll see. I never alter my view of it. The next one's the most important one. I think on reflection, what I do is look back at it and go, right, okay, well, let's have a look, particularly the 4 games. When you think Villa are emerging as a very strong side this season. We know about Liverpool, although obviously a change of results with ourselves and Brighton. A few injury problems there as well. Man City, we're now strong there, and now Chelsea are. So 6 out of them 4 particularly, and a cup win, a very good cup win. It's pretty pleasing over the view of the season so far. There's got to be some margin of realism in how you think. It doesn't mean you can't win a game. Of course, you can win any game, but there are some probabilities and possibilities, as I call it. Beyond that, we look forward to the next one. We don't know the exact parameters of these games, but it suggests the next clutch of games are more in kind of the reality of our world. So we'll see, but the next one's the most important one. So our focus will be on a good Brighton side who are coming up to turf.
Is it too simplistic to look at the games against teams like Brighton and those around you to say that they're the games, the results that will define where you finish this season? Yeah,
it is too simplistic because we beat Liverpool away. Villa at home on a turnaround, turned it around twice from being down. Brighton have just beat Liverpool away. Brighton beat Tottenham at home, just last week. So it is too simplistic, but it is equally, or not equally, but there is a fair view of there are certain teams that everyone thinks they should be more competitive. Everyone outside of the sort of elite clubs, if you like, everyone thinks they should be more competitive against, and the margins are kind of tighter. That's fair to say. But, points are important no matter where they come from. I haven't lost sight of, like I say, I look backwards just to reflect on where we were and where we are. And, I haven't lost sight of the fact that after 8 games, we were on 2 points. And now we are where we are. So that's a big shift. So I don't rely on that, by the way, but there's a good work getting done. The players are doing a lot here. And that's throughout injury challenges, tough game schedules, the lot. So there's a lot of good work being done. We've got to continue, of course. We've got to continue moving forwards, playing better and better and working harder and harder, because that's the only way it is in the Premier League. You've got to do that to win games.
Do the players need to seize the opportunity, though, of getting to the teams around you? Because I suppose it's the one opportunity you have to impact their season as much as your own in a head-to-head.
The players here, they're well versed enough around the Premier League and their knowledge of the Premier League. They know their way around what it is. Delivery is key. Performance is key over the remaining games, as it has been over the previous games. So we keep things pretty simple-minded around that side of things.
I've obviously, like the rest of the planet, watched the last press conference. I just wondered how your career as a social media influencer was going after going viral last week.
Well, it's a strange thing. I try and give a view of these press conferences generally. Certainly a few on here would know, to try and have a bit of fun and not be flippant. I'm well aware of how serious my role is and how serious the Premier League is, but just sometimes you just think, my goodness, at the end of the day, it's still football. There's a lot going on in the world that's way beyond football at the minute. And I think just that moment just struck me as a moment when it was a bit of lightheartedness and prompted by, I must say, where it was cut from. I've been sent it about 4,000 times, by the way. Where it was cut from with Beardy saying about me looking like Mick Hucknall, there was a pre-story to that, by the way, because I deadpanned it, but there was a pre-story suggesting that I obviously didn't look like Mick Hucknall, but therefore everyone puts me in the ginger gene pool. So whoever's got ginger hair, I look like them, apparently. So that was the actual start point, was before the Mick Hucknall situation. I deadpanned it because the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people have said, you don't actually look like Mick Hucknall. They've been messaging me and I go, yeah, I know. That was the bit of the deadpan bit, but some people don't get deadpan humour, obviously. And to be fair to them, there wasn't a build-up explaining what the link was. The link before that was Beardy, who does the radio up here, and I know quite well. He actually, on this Zoom call, he actually showed his cat as well, a ginger cat. So he presupposed I looked like his cat as well. So that was the build-up. I looked like Mick Hucknall, Chris Evans, and his cat. And allegedly, the one that I will give you is Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I'll have to hold my hands up. People send me a lot of that down the years, so sometimes you've got to hold your hands up. I'll take that one.
Well, you're definitely
very good-looking man that he is, by the way. Very good-looking man.
I was going to say, well, you're definitely a stunner, so I'll give you that.
Thanks very much. You are correct.
I just want on that though. Have you managed to monetize all those hits? Because you must have got tens of thousands. That's worth a lot of money.
I'm not on. Apparently, there's loads of Twitter parody accounts. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not against it. Just to clear that up once again, because everyone thinks I am. I'm not at all. I'm not against any social media. The use of it, that's a different ball game. Some people misuse it, I would suggest, but No, I'm not against any social media. Never have been. It's just another one of the stories that I got put in a box with, and it was like I didn't like social media. It's nothing to do with that. A bit of fun for my kids as well. 18 and coming up 16, or nearly 18 and coming up 16, so a bit of fun for them as well. So yeah, all good, all good.
Just funny, the one thing that struck a chord with me about the whole thing, it wasn't necessarily the McCutnell thing. It was more you talk about being bored, because I think we're all feeling a bit of lockdown fatigue, just being stuck in at home. And it just struck me today because as I was thinking of some insightful questions for you, whether I've passed that test.
Well, like this one, it's been really insightful, actually. Yeah,
it's terrible. I know. Apologies, but I was listening to a lot of music, and it just made me think. The link was that I've listened to a lot of music this summer and this year particularly, and you obviously being a big music man, I just wondered like how that's helped you, if it's helped you at all.
Definitely. No, definitely. There's a couple of friends have sent me playlists, a few playlists I've downloaded on my phone. Just, I think, people are in that kind of mode, aren't they? Where looking for alternatives just for that bit of spark, maybe some nostalgia, a few memories, a bit more reading, a bit more, general stuff that maybe we take for granted. I think sometimes we do. And I think part of it was, I was semi in jest the other day. I'm bored in many ways, but the point is, I'm not bored in my role and what we do. Obviously, it's full on what we do as football managers. So don't get me wrong, there's boredom in that, but generally in life, there's no payback for anyone at the moment. You can't pop out, you can't have your friends around, you can't have a bit of dinner, you can't have a pint if you're that way inclined. That sort of thing. So it's that type of thing where you're just going, well, I'm a human as well as being a football manager. People wouldn't believe it, but I am. So, there are times when you go, goodness me. But there's people way worse off than me out there, to make it clear. So I'm not crying in. It was just a moment in time, and I just thought I'd share a bit of lightheartedness and a real game and an actual game. And I hope everyone likes it and takes care of it and uses it wisely, because it's a fantastic game.
I've kept you long enough. Thanks for your time, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Andy Sixsmith, please.
Hiya, Sean. I have to say, I'm disappointed that there's no cats on the panel again today.
It was quite a pleasing event in my life to see myself as a mirror view as a cat, quite obviously, and now apparently I look like every ginger cat as well. So there you go. And it was a cat, Beardy. It was a cat. Remember.
It could be worse. You could look like Chris Martin, apparently. So just to kind of
unlike yourself, obviously.
Apparently so.
No, it's the bit when I said unlike, but don't worry.
I don't want to keep you on the football for too long, obviously.
No, obviously, we wouldn't want to ruin a press conference like this by talking about my job and what we do. No chance.
I just want to kind of quickly reflect on last night. It sounds strange, obviously, considering it was defeat, but how proud were you of the players, considering that second half resilience after conceding so early on against a side, let's be honest, who are in cracking form in Man City?
Yeah, I'm never short of pride in the players, that's for sure. Win or lose, they give us a lot here, and they have done for many years. So proud is not a thing for just winning. Proud is what we do and what we look to achieve and how hard these players work. So that's a given in my world. But look, it's very difficult. We gave a soft goal early on in the game. That's tough enough when you play the big guns, and particularly Man City, the form they're in. They're top class. They're absolutely top class outfit, I think. On current form, the best, I think, in the league, but that doesn't win you a league. They've got to keep going as everyone else has. And then to go 2 down just for half-time is a real blow, and the game's getting away from you, but at least we contained what we could the second half, and that sounds easy. It's not easy, not when they're playing as freely as they were. And I think it sounds a bizarre thing. We got beat, well beat overall, no crying in about that, 2-0, but a strange 2-0 because we've played them and they've absolutely tore bits out of us, and scored way more goals and created way more chances. So I was pleased with that side of things. It sounds a silly thing, but to keep them down to sort of maybes at times, and not loads of golden chances. They had a couple, but trust me, they can make 10, 12, 13 out of their 25 or 26 chances. Will be golden chances. They didn't on the night, so I was pleased with that, pleased with the tactical shape of the side. And I said to them half time, and after the game actually, I said, look, we can actually learn from what we do against these sides, because you're not playing them every week, but there's a time when our things do work, what we do, as we did at Liverpool. They had a slightly off night and we played very well. And I saw Brighton last night do the same. Slightly off from Liverpool, very good from Brighton. And, when you get that measure right, you can still be taking wins and points out of the Premier League. And I think, so I was pleased on that side of things. And it's funny because after the game, you know what it's like. And everyone's got to do their job. The media are like, oh, you didn't have that many shots. And you're like, they've been put together for 800 million. It's not just the attacking thing, by the way. They know the game. They know how to operate. So if you imagine their training schedule, you've got 20 players roughly worth 50 million quid each. So when they have a 10v10, well, 11v11, trust me, you're marking someone who's probably better than anyone in the Premier League or as good as anyone in the Premier League. Just from a development point of view on a daily basis, that develops you. It's not just coaching, that just simply playing against better players all of the time, every day, will develop you. It subliminally develops you. Not stop, stand still, coaching all the time, just from doing that every day. So when you come up against these sides, they're well versed in pressing, they're well versed in organisation, they play all these teams try and stop them. They play through Europe with all these teams to try and stop them. So they constantly are practicing how to break that down. So even before you get on the pitch, they're in a place where they know about your structure. So the reason, going back to your point, is when second half, we kind of get a hold of the game slightly through our structure. That's pleasing, more pleasing than people think, because that's not easy. That's my point. It's not easy to do that. And we calmed it down, we calmed the game down, got a little foothold at times, only at times, and asked a few questions of them. That's good signs from a side like us, particularly with the injuries we've got. That's good sign from the players, and the young players particularly are with us at the moment. They'll learn from them things. So just, that's my manager's view of how these teams operate and the reality of it.
So, having played Liverpool, beaten Liverpool at Anfield, having played Man City last night, have you, in your view, just played the champions? Would you say City have the edge over a side like Liverpool? No,
it's not as simple as that. Whatever side you are, however much you spend, it's not easy to win titles. It's not easy to get promotions. It's not easy to win titles. It's not easy to win cups. There's a lot of myths about that. It's not easy. They're a top side, but they'll still have work to do. They know that. There's no way, in my mind, that Pep Guardiola and any of them players think they're just going to stroll through the rest of the Premier League. They're just not built like that. They know what it needs. They know what it takes. So they'll know they're going to have to keep playing really, really well to run away or to win the title even. And I think I don't think they're naive enough. In fact, I know they've no chance they're naive enough to think because they're playing well, everything just works hand in glove. It doesn't work like that in football.
And just focusing on Burnley, obviously, and the position that you find yourselves in. It always seems to me that whenever Burnley, even without a win in the first couple of months of the season, there doesn't seem to be the same level of concern amongst the public that Burnley could be relegated. As the sides like Brighton, Newcastle, if they go on a bad run, there's general concern that they could be relegated. How testament is that to the work that you and your staff have put in, but the players have put in as well over the last few years, the fact that you wouldn't be necessarily considered as contenders?
I think there's I don't know all of the public view. I don't read public views and stuff like that. But I get the feeling from friends and family that I think there's always been an earthiness to what we do, and there's a reality, and I think people understand that. I think every year we go into the Premier League, I don't think there's fans, general fans. I mean, not just Burnley fans, but general fans who are thinking anything other than Burnley are probably going to have a tough season. So there's a sort of a reality to start the season. We're not a side. I mean, there's sides that come into the Premier League from, the Championship and spend £100 million. We've never done that. I don't think we've done that since I've been at the club. So it brings a different reality. Now, I'm not saying we want that in a way. I want to be in a position where people go, well, all right, then you've spent some money, you've got some good players, come on then, show us what you can do. It's just that we're not often in that position. So therefore, I just think there's a reality to it. I think people see it and go, do you know what, they're still... Whatever people say, there's a view that you're punching above your weight. There's a view that you have to work hard for everything. There's a view that, it could have a tough spell in your season and that can happen. But equally, there has been a growing view that they find a way. And I'm pleased to say we often do find a way. We don't take that for granted, but we do find a way of maximising what we do. And that's been finding this effective football that I talk about. It's not Brandist football. I'm not really bothered about that. I want a team that can win, and they want to win, by the way. And they're well aware. These players are honest and well aware enough. There's different ways of winning at this level, and we've had to find many different ways, and we'll continue to have to do that. So, I don't know. Maybe there's just a view that it's every season a restart, as I call it, for Burnley Football Club, and there's probably going to be a few spells when it doesn't work to plan. Our job is to make sure that them spells are brief, and to make sure we get back on track, to make sure we win games, to make sure we stay in the Premier League, and that's our intention.
And just being the only other side, obviously, we're beating Liverpool. How would Brighton have felt this morning when they woke up? How much extra boost, how much extra confidence does that give ahead of the weekend?
I just think they'll be delighted. A bit of noise around Liverpool. They're not quite on song, but you're not bothered about that. You still got to play well, which they did. I saw most of the game last night. Defended well, defended in numbers, but still attacked well, found, the balance. They'll be looking to do that again, of course. that's what every team's looking to do. You know, you want to defend well, but you've got to attack and you've got to be effective. So, but for sure, I think they're a good outfit. They're another team that spent a lot of money over the last 2.5 years. I think the manager's doing some good work. He's stuck to what he believes in there. He's changed his style as well. Yesterday, it wasn't rolling out from the back. They were playing a lot longer, long diags onto Dan Burn and stuff like that. You know, so he's willing to be flexible himself. And I think they had a tough spell, but they're coming through it. So, yeah, again, another good side. It makes for another good Premier League game and certainly another challenge for us. We're used to these challenges, so we'll be ready to take it on.
And just finally, Sean, I have to round it off surely by saying any lookalikes in the Brighton team or not?
I'm certainly. Do you know, it's an incredible thing when often people sort of ask me things like that, like I'm going to name players, there's a lookalike, which would be bizarre. And they actually asked me the other day, what do I think Pep Guardiola's lookalike? Why would I ever get involved in that? It's almost like a bizarre question to even ask me. Trust me, my lookalikes are not people in football and certainly not the opposition. They're normally just, you know, with my mates, sitting around the family, viewing life, you know. So certainly I'm not really looking at looky-likes amongst football, that's for sure. Especially the opposition where we're just about to play them, by the way.
Thanks, Sean. Best of luck against Brighton.
Thank you.